trying to make anybody upset, but that language is appropriate.
Actually, we
talking
want
about
people.
these people.
Actually, dude, can I say something? I want people to get upset. People are not upset enough. People keep asking, how come, dude, you ever go to like a pro-Israel protest in America, in New York? You ever go to one of these things?
Okay. I have walked by one of these things one time.
Okay, you've walked by. How many people have you seen at these things? On like a weekday. If it's on a weekday. How many people have you seen at these things?
The two that I saw, I think one of them had like 30 people, the other one had like 20.
Okay, they had 30 people. And what was the age demographic of the people at these protests?
Age demographic? Babysitter girls. That's what
No. Usually, man.
That's what I saw.
Okay, well, usually I'll tell you, I've been to
Union Square. It was in Union Square.
I've been to enough of these things. Most of the people that go to these things are retirees. Dude, why should it be that when something happens, like there's a Gaza incursion or something, Palestinians, they're not all out of work, or Arabs in America, right? These people show up in droves, not in even droves. They show up in hordes. Like barbarian hordes. Like all the, you remember what was it? No, Braveheart. All the guys that he assembled from the different countries, like from the different Commonwealth countries that did not want to be subjugated under the king, the queen, under England. This is who shows up in terms of like people from the Arab world show up at these protests, thousands of them, and they just yell the same thing. Most of them are not even like from the Palestinian tribes. They're all from like, the different nation states that surround Israel.
Most of them don't even know what the issue is.
They don't even know what the issue is, but they're
screaming. Yell at Jews.
But they're screaming. They have enough time to show up. Pardon my language, a shitload of them, and they're screaming, "Free Palestine! Occupation is a crime!" Dude, and they get violent and this, and they're angry and they're pissed off, and I'm wondering to myself, why we are, related to these freaking people. We're cousins with them, and yet we are so nice, and we can't even leave our job for a second to come and support. We're so effing pro-Israel. We're so this and we're so that, and we give so much money to our wonderful stupid organizations that do nothing but sit in their leather chairs. We can't get out of work on our lunch hour to come downstairs and scream for Israel and get upset.
Most of the Jewish people, and again, I'm gonna have to put this one on God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're castrated.
Yeah.
It's not about laziness. It's not about some kind of decision. It's pure knee-shaking fear. The knees smacking into each other from the shaking fear.
Dude, but it's just like, but everybody's so pro-Israel. Everybody's so pro-this. Even the Kahana people. Even this. Even that. Dude, it's a disgrace. It's just it's a freaking. And then we're crying about how like, oh, the media, propaganda, and this. Well, you MFers, you stay home when something happens. Dude, the only time I saw droves of people come out for Israel, finally, actually I was very surprised, when like there was like one of these Gaza things and a bunch of people came out. Granted, and the only reason they even tons of them came out was because it was on a Sunday, and it was like, somebody promoted it like crazy. And it was like, like they had like some singer. I think it was like Gad El-Baz, one of these guys. And it was a Sunday in Times Square, one of these things. And it was just like a bunch of people waving their flags. It wasn't even people who were angry. They were just like, yay, Israel, that kind of Pollyannish crap.
I'd like to add
We have to get angry. We have to want to stab motherfucker, bro.
No, listen.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
In self-defense, of course, in self-defense, from the Gemara, if somebody comes to kill you, rise up and kill them. Dude, we have to get angry. We have to get like irate. We have to get furious.
You don't know what the core issue here is. Let me tell you what it is. It's mama. Jewish mama protects baby and wants to make sure that her little boy is nice and is well fed and he's safe and he has a good job at the at the
Even
firm.
even
Okay?
Sephardi mama, even Sephardi mama who hates
Yeah,
Arabs,
even
who
Sephardi
hates
mama, that's right.
Arabs,
Yeah.
who doesn't want to live
Listen,
under Arabs ever again, ever, forever,
can you, before you slice through my point, let me say it.
Yeah.
Okay. Arab. Let me just say, for a very large portion of the Muslim world, right?
Yeah.
The mothers do not love their children. They breed them happily, like cockroaches.
No, they love them, but they think that love is making them into a shahid.
First let me say what I don't. You right now you sound like a leftist. You won't let me even finish the sentence.
Okay.
So this is what I see. This is how I feel. This is from my experience. Okay. They happily, religiously breed these children, right, to be angry, aggressive animals. That is what they want their boys to be like. Mm-hmm. These are the type of people that say, "Go and rape as many of the Jewish women as you can." Yeah. They're proud of that. Do you understand? Listen, we could just focus on that alone.
Listen, I'm going to strengthen your point. I'm going to strengthen your point. Arafat said, "The biggest weapon is the womb of the Arab woman." That's what
it's the womb, and it's also the mind of her.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a culture which breeds locusts happily. Okay, they are not locusts in reality.
Yeah.
They're human beings, but their culture and their mothers treat them and raise them to be and to think like locusts.
Yeah. They have to
That's what it is.
To swarm us.
And our mothers and so the Jewish mothers, they don't do that. Okay? So you're asking, why do we get mad and go out there and want to stab and all that kind of stuff? It's because the only way to there's two extreme ways to fix the situation for Jewish boys being pussies.
Yeah.
Okay? Number one, supernatural intervention. That's the only answer. Number two, we need to create a Spartan system of, like, for a couple of generations, where, the mother gives birth to the kid is taken away from the mother and, just raised by the generals and by the military to be tough. That's the only way to do this.
Yeah.
That's another. If you want to add another reason to the list why only supernatural intervention is gonna save us.
Yeah.
Okay? But our mothers don't raise us to be aggressive, raping locusts.
But can I ask you a question on this, or challenge what you're saying? Man, when you look back at Jewish history and you look at, speaking of 3,500 years ago or speaking of 2,000 years ago, and you look at all this kind of successful, I'm directly translating from Russian, successful moments in our history where we basically were able to, take care of business, as it were, and succeeded either defending ourselves or defending our civilization, really, or the way we live, or defending ourselves physically from annihilation. How did we do that? We were able to, we had leaders who came and said, "Listen, guys, we have to get violent here. Not because we're violent people, not because we are, again, like our cousins, not because of any of these things, but because if we don't, we're either going to all die, like in the story of Purim, we're all going to die. Obviously in Purim, we did other things as well. We fasted, we did what we had to do spiritually, but we also physically defended ourselves. There's that part of the story that, talks about at the end, after this whole happily after thing, that talks about how we decimated thousands of Persians, right? Even today, Ahmadinejad mentions that. He mentioned that, that the Jews tell their story of, or the Israelis, the Zionists, tell the story of how they decimated, 35,000 Persians or Iranians or whatever. He remembers this. Like, the little tiny Haman or spark of Haman remembers that stuff. Or the story of Hanukkah. How we just defended our rights as Jews to practice whatever we wanted to practice. We defended ourselves from both, an outside regime, and also from internal enemies, from the Hellenists, from the Reform.
Can I give you some information about those two events, please?
I know. Just let me finish. So, both those events, man, we got violent, man. Again, and then after we were done, we went back to the house of study. We went back to being nerds, whatever.
No.
Okay.
That's not what happened.
Okay, so correct me.
Okay. So let's start with Purim.
Okay.
First of all, Purim, there was a miracle in the sense that there was a lot of people who became, who were gers at the time, and they played a huge role in assisting us in battle, which is a strange thing. I learned that only a couple of years ago. I never had a chance to research that. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, everybody, the Jews were never nerds.
I'm not saying we were. I'm just saying, you know what I mean. I didn't mean we were.
Everybody, hold on. Everybody knew how to fight.
Yeah.
All the men. There was a strong tradition of martial arts.
Yeah.
Okay. They never left. There was an unbroken tradition. Like the fathers taught their sons how to fight, how to kill, how to hunt.
Yeah.
Weapons, archery, all that. That was all part of the culture.
Yeah, of course.
They didn't play chess.
That's not what I meant.
They didn't go to math club.
That's not what I meant. But yeah.
Well,
I'm just saying that they all knew Torah frontwards and backwards. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, that's not a contradiction.
I know it's not a contradiction.
Joshua.
When I said nerds, I meant that in a positive sense. That's one,
Okay, so when you said nerds, I thought you meant they
No.
went back to being like
No,
pimply, soft pussy.
No, not pussy pussy. They just went back to the house of study. That was their primary thing.
Okay, that was okay, fine.
Yeah.
But they still made time to
Of course.
weapons training and for fighting.
Yeah, it goes without saying.
Even the Rambam did.
Yeah.
The Rambam, he was only 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
He knew how to ride horses. He knew how to wrestle. He knew how to shoot an arrow.
Yeah.
And how to swing a sword. Can you imagine the Rambam in battle?
I can. Yeah, I can.
Okay, I can too. Okay, so this is a completely different group. They were not castrated then.
Yeah.
Okay, they still had their balls, and the culturally it was understood. Okay, that even the mothers understood. They were Jewish mothers, understood, but it was understood that it was necessary to go out into battle, and their mothers weren't driving them crazy with this kind of like insane guilt, and the mothers understood these are men. They need supportive behavior. They can't have this emotional drain on them of a lunatic mother losing their mind.
Yeah.
This is a man. He has to go out to war. This is what it is, okay? Plus they had much more faith in God and whatever.
So I'm gonna ask you a question based on everything you're saying now. Can I ask a question? So today we look at the landscape today of the Jewish world. On the one hand, we pan over to Israel. We have now an army where every single mother, as much as it pains her and it's painful for her, but it's simultaneously painful, but also instills pride in her that her son, once he turns 17, 18, whatever it is, he graduates high school, let's say, he's going to go to the army. And for most, even some frum people in Israel, it's a point of pride to, what unit you're going to go to, which unit, is it a tough unit? Do you get sent to Judea and Samaria? Do you get here? Do you get this? Everything. It's like this whole cultural thing that they've developed, right? So these scumbags who founded the state ironically understood that, we do dafka have to beat out of the Jewish man this pussification that happened over these, centuries as a result of the galut.
Okay, I was going to address this.
Just let me. I know. Just let me finish the thought and. But then
well, you interrupted my thought, so I don't have a lot of incentive to want to let you finish your thought, but I will. Go ahead.
You pan over to America, and you don't really have that. You don't really have that. But at the same time, again, man, like we're not even what I'm talking about. Again, back to these protests. To be honest with you, I'm not even talking about necessarily even getting violent. At the very least, at the minimum, just minimum. Just if you have to, if it's necessary, if the moment calls for your participation to leave your office during your lunch hour, push a button on the damn elevator, and go down outside your building, or if the protest is not directly outside your building, you can walk 5 blocks or 10 blocks, maybe even get on a train, a subway, or an Uber, and instead of eating your stupid sandwich, come down and support your country, your real country, when push comes to shove.
They're scared. They're scared of getting hurt.
What? There's no. I'm going under the assumption that at these Israel protests, there is no counter-protest. There's just people protesting outside of...
There's always a counter-protest.
Listen, there's people protesting outside of a mission, like a UN office or something, or a consulate, whatever it is. There's police presence there. There has to be police presence because they had to get permits to do this, so there has to be police. There is enough police. There's barricades. There's this.
Can I give you an example of something I experienced?
Okay.
Right here in Miami, I went to a pro-Israel rally here with my brothers, with my wife's brothers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God we're all armed, right?
Yeah.
And there was police presence there and all that kind of crap, right?
Yeah.
But then you had the counter protesters there walking around freely. Okay. and one of them, they started like yelling. They started saying, pity, this thing in the Palestine song, all that stupid shit. Okay?
Yeah.
And one of them was like, you see this? He was like showing me his knife. The cop was right there. He didn't say shit. The cop can't even tell the difference. I don't know if he cared or if he couldn't tell the difference between Jews and Arabs.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's BS. These things are dangerous. There's danger involved. There is danger. And the guy in the office knows that. And he's a soft Jewish guy, and he's scared of getting hurt. That's what's happening. It's not because he doesn't want to.
So can I ask you a question? What makes this 80-year-old fucking grandma not scared of getting hurt? What makes these old people who read Arutz Sheva and who listen to Jackie freaking Mason of blessed memory not scared of getting hurt? The people who you saw in the movie about Skokie with Danny freaking Kaye. What makes those black people not scared? They can't even run. They can't even move and something chas v'shalom happens. And us pussies, our 35-year-old stockbroker, Pidaras, can't leave his office. Answer me that.
All right, but it feels like you're getting, like I'm responsible for it.
No, you're not. It's not you. It's not directed towards you, bro. It's not directed towards you. You understand that? I hope you understand that. It's not directed towards you.
All right, that was a very menacing. That was a very menacing,
it was meant
gradual growth and then a crescendo.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be because I want the audience to hear, and I want the audience to get. You know that movie? What's that movie? I'm not gonna take it anymore. That guy. Was it the How to Stop? Love the Bomb. How to Stop Worrying Love the. He's like we're mad as hell. We're not gonna take it anymore.
That's Network.
Whatever.
Network.
You know the movie I'm talking about. I want the folks at home to feel what I feel. Because it's enough.
Okay, I'm going to explain to you why. Okay. But I need a few minutes.
I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you.
Okay, but if it's not what you want to hear, you still have to let me say it anyway.
For sure.
All right. Jewish guys, for the most part, have a comfortable life. Not just Jewish guys, but like American guys, you can have an Irish guy, you can have an Italian guy, right? They're attorneys, you know, they're slightly overweight, they're very soft, the skills that they need to survive are not physical. Okay. And it's interesting, and this is connected very much to what we're talking about. You know who ends up in the mob
Who?
from the Italian community?
Who?
Only the poorest guys.
Yeah. Oh, I know that.
Okay, most Italian guys don't end up in the mob.
Yeah.
Okay, they're normal. They have normal jobs, normal businesses. Okay, and they end up being like they're just as soft as everybody else.
Yeah.
But mobsters are their ranks are full of people who started out super poor. Okay, so because they were poor and they didn't have comfortable lives, so they got used to being more physical and more violent. Because they had to, right?
Yeah.
So the locusts that we were talking about are, I'm not saying that they have a mafia, even though they do, right?
Yeah.
It's just that they're generally poorer, right, for the most part, right? Especially the newer immigrants, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so they don't have anything much to do. They're not studying, right? They're not trying to, open a business and network and all that kind of stuff. Those that do. Some of them are doing that, and they end up being soft. They're not going to go to a protest. I got a business. I got a mistress. I can't. I have a lot going on. Okay, I have too much going on. I have too much abundance in my life to risk it all on some stupid, protest where I might get into a fight and get stabbed or go to jail or something like that. I don't have time for that. So only people who have time for that are going to participate in that. You understand?
Yeah.
Бездельники. Stupid, retard, like aggressive бездельники that were bred to be locusts.
Wait, but but I asked you about the older people.
I know. Hold on, I'm gonna get to it. I just wanted to.
No, that I get. Yeah, that part I get, obviously.
All right. So the old people, the old ladies, okay, are, first of all, there's not that many of them.
Not that many, but okay.
And second of all, so what you're asking me is why are the brave people brave? Why is that small group of people who have the power?
Can I add one more thing? Can I just add one more thing about these people, because I know them personally? A lot of them actually are well-to-do. Some of them, I mean, obviously they're retirees, but they're well-to-do people. They're well-to-do people. These are people who are like, some of them are very wealthy.
Right.
And I'm serious.
So the people the type of people that you're describing, that I have encountered, they've all had something very personal, tragedy happen to them to motivate them to do this. Okay? Either they remember something and that was deeply affected them from their grandparents or their parents or themselves or their children. It's almost always like that.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's definitely the lion's share of their motivation. Okay?
Yeah.
So again, it shows, like, unless something happens to you, God forbid, right? You're not going to wait. You're not going to be awake because you got businesses, you got mistresses, you got Whore Island in Colombia coming up.
It's either
you've been waiting, you've been saving up for that. You understand?
So basically, these people are either Holocaust survivors or kids of Holocaust survivors. The ones who are.
Yes, right. They remember. They understand. They saw the trauma. They know the stories. These are not children of Holocaust survivors that spared them from the stories. You often bring up that kind of person. Like, you have the kind of Holocaust survivors that didn't want to tell. Yeah. It was like my grandfather. Yeah. He spent 9 years on the battlefront in World War II.
And didn't want to tell anybody anything about it.
No, before, and also before World War II, when the Soviet Union was with their conflict before that. Yeah. He never, I saw like multiple gunshots on his body. Okay. On his leg, on his back, and I knew that he didn't have his sense of smell. Okay, so what he must have gone through, my father barely knows anything about it. Yeah. He was part of the invading force into Germany, into Berlin. Can you imagine?
It's crazy.
Anyway, so basically, but not everybody had grandparents like that. Some grandparents told them exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not a very common thing. Okay, so basically, that's what it comes down to. When you have comfort, and you got a lot going on. You got businesses. You got things going for you. You're not going to risk your neck to go do something, even if you have an inkling to do it. You kind of feel it, but at the same time, you're so comfortable in your abundance that, and also, right away you start getting these thoughts into your head. My mom is going to get upset. Oh, my wife is going to give me a headache.
Yeah.
Or whatever. All this kind of stuff. You understand? Like, there's no. We were not raised with a very strong sense of duty to Israel and to the Jewish people. It's just lip service, basically. It's a feeling, and it's a little bit of lip service. Okay, send some money.
Dude, I don't know.
It's nothing.
Can I just say something? I don't know what it is, man. But I remember the first time I went to one of these protests. I think it was like 2008, 2007. Dude, like again, I mentioned to you, in my 20s, I was doing well, thank God, But I don't know what it is. I mean, I partially know what it is because my parents were refuseniks, and I knew everything about kind of like what, for example, the Soviet Union did with the Arabs, how they helped them. So it was one of those things where like basically this was just a continuation of, I knew about Kahana, what he did. I don't know. I just never felt like, even when I had quote unquote what to lose, I never felt like I had anything to lose necessarily. And I don't know, man. I never thought twice.
Well, okay, so
it was me.
You're an example similar to those like.
I'm not tooting.
You were too educated in the history of it.
I'm not tooting. By the way, I'm not like tooting my own horn. But it's funny. It was just like you would see like at these protests, right? Like these old people, and then like me, and my my Russian Jewish friend from like whatever Paramus, and then his friend is Israeli guy, and another Russian guy. So like the four of us, or like three of us, we would go to this thing, And part of it would just to be like, because you always see like leftists, or you always see Neturei Karta guys, and just for like shits and giggles, just to like banter with them or something like that, just to see them or banter. It was just like entertainment, also partially. But I don't know, man. I just never. And I could literally like I could never like back then I couldn't understand. Like I'm like. You know what it was? You know what? Just let me. It was. You know what? The mystery to me at that time, you're talking about 2007, 2008, is because on top of that, I knew so many people who were pro-Israel. It wasn't like they didn't care, because if you could say a lot of people just don't care, right? I knew tons of people especially university in Baruch College where I went, who were pro-Israel. Tons of them, obsessed with Israel. They went on Birthright, obsessed. But for some reason, I never saw them at these things. I never saw them there.
I want to read something to you from Tanakh.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I should have thought of this while we were talking about this, because I just learned this literally today with my dad, right before you called.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the book of Samuel, 2. Okay? Shmuel Bet, chapter 2, verse 12. Mm-hmm. This is just after King David was crowned king of Yehuda, his capital in Hebron.
Mm-hmm.
He was not yet accepted by the whole nation.
Interesting.
Okay. Once Abner, son of Ner, the soldiers of Ishbosheth. Ishbosheth was the son of Saul, who had been, Abner was King Shaul's primary general for his armed forces. A very mighty warrior. And so he installed Shaul, Saul's remaining only living son, to be the king. Okay? He only reigned for 2 years. Okay? But he wasn't king over all of Israel because Yehuda only followed David. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's why he's not considered the second king of Israel, because it wasn't of all Israel. Okay. So with that context, once Abner, son of Ner, and the soldiers of Ishbosheth, who was the son of Saul, marched out from Mahanaim to Givon. Givon. Okay, and Joab, that was King David's primary general, right? Who was the son of Zeruiah, right? And the soldiers of David, they also came out. They confronted one another at the pool of Givon. Okay. One group sat on one side of the pool, and the other group on the other side of the pool. Abner said to Joab, these are the two generals talking to each other, right? They're kind of like, they're not fighting with each other, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just, okay. So he said, so let's see. Abner said to Joab, let the young men come forward and sport before us. And then Joab said, yes, let them. Meaning, let the young men, let our soldiers come forward, let them wrestle around. Let's see who's a better swordsman, right? I read the commentary. The commentary says that the intent was just to kind of play around, you know, but also in a competitive way, like sports.
Yeah.
Like let's see who's a better wrestler, a better sportsman, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, these are soldiers, young guys.
Yeah.
Probably 16, 17. Okay. So the next it says they came forward and they were counted off. 12 for Benjamin and Ishbosheth, son of Saul, and 12 for David's soldiers. So 12 against 12. Okay? So basically things escalated. They were playing, and then it happened that each one grasped his opponent's head with his hand and thrust his dagger into his opponent's side. Thus they felt they killed each other.
Yeah.
Okay, and this sparked a giant, horrifying war. Because here's the wording that says, a fierce battle ensued that day. But listen to what it says in Hebrew. Vati hamilhama kasha ad me'od.
Yeah.
You understand that, right?
A hard war, difficult war.
Until it's very extreme. Me'od, me'od.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I've never even seen that wording used for the battles that I've read.
Yeah.
That raged even before this. Like, this is crazy. Okay, so why am I reading you this? Because this is what we were like.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Okay, and we are not like that now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how different. That's what has been done to us.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Okay, so that's the primary reason. It's almost supernatural.
Even to the point where people who are pro will not even lift a finger.
Yeah, they can't. They're
That's crazy.
I'm saying stuff. Everybody, for the folks at home, everybody who is listening to this, every Jewish guy who is listening to me hates my guts right now, because they know I'm telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and of course we have our exceptions, and we have our JDL guys.
Yeah, of course.
Stuff. But and by the way, let's talk about the Israeli military for a second, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the Israeli military did not create guys like this that we just read about.
I know that.
Even though this is not a good example. These guys are. This is a stupid thing that happened. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. They shouldn't have started these games. They should have realized it's going to escalate.
No.
Okay. So, and the generals were very regretful about this. They realized that this is really dumb. But anyway, so what they did was, the Israeli government, right? You have a bunch of socialists who they created a system where you can create pride and toughness, right?
No.
In the Jew, which the Jew desperately wants.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Especially when they're downtrodden and they've gone through a lot of horrible, like, abuse and humiliation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? After that, so you had an entire nation of people, of young men who have been horribly abused and traumatized and, abused in every possible way, and humiliation beyond imagination. Okay? So you have an entire group like that, that is just needs to be lifted up. It's so easy to manipulate a person like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Israeli government, they did that, but to a limit. You understand? They don't want that to be complete. They never completely let it happen. They let it happen only to serve their socialist interests.
Yeah.
And so it is. So it is to this day. So we do not have the Jewish people. Whenever I hear somebody say now the Jewish people have an army, no, we fucking don't. We have a group of Jews that are conscripted into the armed forces of a Egyptian priesthood to do their will.
Yeah.
That's what we have. This is the ugly, horrifying truth that we need to be rescued from. Okay? Everything, all this, these talking, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, like you have like these phrases that are like almost like Pavlovian,
talking points. Yeah.
All these talking points. The Jewish people have an army, and no, we don't.
Yeah. It's all Hasbara. Okay. It's all Hasbara. Banter. Hasbarist crap.
I understood this when they started marching into Gaza and uprooting.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. That's not a Jewish army. That's the army of an Egyptian priesthood that hates religious Jews.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's what we have. Okay, so doesn't mean it's going to stay that way.
No.
Right? We might have an actual army.
You know how I know it's not going to stay that way? Because you have something called Nahal Haredi. Netzach Yehuda. Speaking of Netzach this week. Unit, and it's a bunch of Haredi guys, and they get sent on missions to some of the most dangerous missions. You also have like at this point like Hesder yeshivas, like these, or Mechina, these preparatory yeshivot for Dati Leumi, for Orthodox guys in the settlements. There's one main one in Elon Moreh, the northern part of Shomron, but
I'm worried. I'm worried that the guys you're describing are like that guy who said, "Look at me, I'm Haredi, but my government hates me, but I will do whatever they say."
It's not quite like that. The only thing that I will say is that, I will say that some of these Haredi guys, the dangers that they will, there's going to be like a worship more of the state versus Hashem. But at the same time, at the end of the day, at least you have these guys that a culture is beginning to be formulated to where, and how do we know it's real? Because the highest rank any one of these guys will ever be allowed to attain is, whatever. I'm just throwing it out. They're never going to be able to attain chief of staff of the IDF. A frum guy will never be allowed near the reins of being the highest, ranking soldier in the Israeli military. That would just be a disaster for these freaking people, in their eyes. To have a God-fearing guy lead the Israeli army, that's Mashiach, man. It's gonna be the guy who's gonna be that is gonna be Dafka Mashiach.